Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
What is up, everybody? It is Lo, your host, and we have the full crew tonight with Big Shot Rob, Drew, and Brando. And this is our favorite episode, usually every year. It is our full season predictions, game by game, with scores. Last year we did this show live. It's pretty incredible to think that it's been a year since then, to be honest with you. But here we are doing it virtually once again. And I guess just to start out, BetMGM, I looked at this today. They have the Vols at like a total of 9.5 wins. And they have what they're listing as their best UT bet as betting the under at minus 180 odds. Me personally, I feel like that's a bit low, but I guess I'm kind of biased. We'll see how it goes. So anything anyone wants to say before we start with game one?
For me personally, 8-4 just isn't like in question for me. I think Tennessee at very like the lowest is 9-3. I just feel like Tennessee and the program has been like completely flipped the last 3 years to where it's crazy to say, but I feel like 8 wins is kind of like just disrespectful saying you should take the under and that's the favorite like bet. I think Tennessee at the minimum is going 9-3, and last year me and Lo at Skybox, everyone called us crazy. Drew and Alex thought we were fucking psychos, but we were right. 10-2.
Here we go.
It happened. So, I mean,
this guy, unbelievable.
Let's give him a golf clap.
But, yeah, no kidding.
I definitely think that the whole BetMGM thing is blasphemous at best.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Drew. I'll go after you.
I'll be quick, but I don't think it's blasphemous at all. I mean, I think 9-3 is a pretty reasonable expectation. 9.5 means that if we're hitting the over, that we're going at least 10-2, and I think we can all agree that 10-2 would be a pretty damn good year for this season. So, I mean, I think 9-3 should be the expectation. 8-4 is like worst case scenario. I mean, that's like if Joe gets injured or like our defense is even worse than last season. But I think 9.5 is a fairly reasonable over under, at least according to Vegas.
Let me break it down for y'all, man. You have to remember, all right, Hendon Hooker, like Peyton Manning, was a generational quarterback. Okay, now, do I think Joe Milton can also be a generational quarterback? Yes, I do think that. But he has to go prove it. 1. Number 2, you have to remember Hendon Hooker makes Tennessee fans feel like we didn't suck for 15 years. But you got to remember, 1 good year doesn't equate to 5 good years. You know what I'm saying? It is still year 3. Hype is only in year 3. And I just don't want people to forget that, because if Tennessee goes 8-4 or they go 9-3, I'm telling you right now, 95% of Tennessee fans are going to be upset. You're going to be upset. You're going to think it's a failure. Tennessee should have went 10-2 or they should have went 11-1. But remember, it is year 3. My personal prediction, I think the ceiling is absolutely 15-0. I do. Clearly, that's obviously the ceiling. The expectation should be there. But the floor, I do think, should be 9-3. I think those 3 losses come from Georgia, Alabama, and A&M. I'm one of those people. I'm not sleeping on A&M. I'm really not. I think they have probably the best roster in the country, maybe right behind Georgia. People seem to forget that. If Jimbo Fisher has actually figured it out this year, I think that they could possibly win the West. I truly do think that. So I just want people to remember, man, like it's still year 3. So if they do go 9-3, 8-4, I think it's still a good sign. I think it still shows progress. I don't feel like we should be to the point to where we think every single year should be between 10-2 and 12-0, 15-0, whatever. Once Josh Heupel reaches, I would say year 5, then every single year my expectations will 100% be 15-0. But I can't do that to Josh Heupel in year 3 because that's not fair to him, because there's still a lot more to be built on.
All right. Well, I'm sure we're all going to have vast opinions and differences throughout this, so let's just go ahead and get started. It is almost here. Next Saturday, we play at what they're calling a neutral site. I don't think it's going to be very neutral, mostly in favor. Yeah, mostly in favor of the Vols. The betting spread was out already, so I checked it this morning, -28 in favor of Tennessee. And I'll let y'all go first, and then I'll just say my score at the end.
Man, it is going to be scorching hot for this game. Let me tell you now, in Hendersonville, which is about 10 minutes away from Nissan Stadium, the heat index the past 2 days has got up to 106. It is absolutely ridiculous. We have a noon kickoff against the Virginia Cavaliers. I definitely think this game is going to be a beatdown. I'm looking forward to it. Finally, 10 days away. Quick little plug, Friday night, going to be at the Volunteer Club party. Then Saturday morning, early 7 a.m. at the Vol Club tailgate. So that's going to be a crazy turnaround. But, just looking forward to, seeing the team, obviously meeting guys like Rob. I think this game is not going to be close. I've heard that, Virginia, they're starting, their third choice at quarterback after losing their first quarterback in the portal, second to injury. Now a guy from Monmouth is stepping up, and he almost got beat out by a 5'9" freshman. Also, I've heard that their weakest link is their offensive line. Tennessee having high praise of the defensive line.
Oh boy!
Out of camp, I just think.
Oh
that,
boy!
I think that Tennessee and Co are gonna make this home opener or neutral site, quote unquote, really easy on Joe Milton coming in game one. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers. I think Tennessee's going to dominate this game. And I just think that, the reason that it's a noon kickoff is that we're going to get out of there by like 3 p.m. and be on Broadway celebrating. I don't see Virginia coming close. My score prediction would be like Tennessee 52-21.
Man, if we allow 21 points to this team, I'm going to be pissed, honestly. I mean, this offense only, finished 103rd in total offense all of last year. They got a guy that's starting at quarterback, Tony Muskett, which I will have to say, probably one of the coolest names in college football. Might be the best quarterback name in college football, honestly.
Oklahoma has general.
I just want to say something to you right fast, and I want you to finish.
Okay.
The starters were probably done at halftime, so it wouldn't be much of a stretch if they allowed 21 points. All right, go ahead.
Regardless, with the depth that we have defensively, for the first time I think we can say in quite a long time, as far as from a talent perspective, this team should not allow 21 points to Virginia. But I mean, a guy played FCS the last couple of years at Monmouth. I mean, I think this is just going to be a highlight reel for our defensive line, and especially for guys like Arian Carter and Aaron Beasley. I think they're just going to get plenty of opportunities to get some sacks, tackle for losses too. And I think Joe Milton's going to be out of the game by the end of the second quarter too. I think Tennessee's going to win this game 56-14.
I feel you. Okay. My prediction is y'all probably gonna look at me kind of crazy, but I'm actually serious when I'm saying this out loud. I really think the score is gonna be like 70-7, maybe 70-14. Let's be real here, man. like, listen, bro. Like, Virginia is bad. Okay, Virginia's bad. All right, Virginia is awful, and every single receiver on Tennessee's roster right now is miles better than anything that Virginia has over there defensively, bro. I think it's going to be over from start to finish. I know you think I'm crazy, but I really think it's going to be like 70-14. I really do. It is crazy, but I'm sticking with that because Virginia's awful. They'll come out first quarter or the first 10 minutes playing spirited because you know what happened to them. My heart goes out to them in the university and their football team. They'll come out spirited, but Tennessee going to break that shit real fast. No offense, though. All due respect.
We have been looking forward to this game for, since the end of the Orange Bowl last year. But, like, last week, 3 days ago, Danny White from the top ropes on Tony Elliott via Twitter about that whole thing. The bulletin board material, 2 weeks out. It's finally here, man. Like, college football doesn't get better. And I just thought that was a huge thing from the top ropes by Danny being like,
thought it was me.
I didn't offer you the job. Hyper was the number one guy, so.
All right. I agree that this team is really bad, but I'm not sure I agree with putting 70 on the board at 11 a.m. in 100 plus degrees. I am going to say that our defense shows up nicely and they only get field goals. That's what my prediction is, 55-9. I like that.
I like that. That's a good prediction.
respectfully, they are terrible right now. They've had a lot of roster overturn. Tony Elliott hasn't been able to get his feet going. He's not had his answer at quarterback. Recruiting has been very hard. All the stuff surrounding the school. I just think it's going to be very hard for them to come out and be able to compete with Tennessee at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be a little difficult, and the Tennessee insiders can say what they want to say, but you crazy if you think Josh Heupel ain't finna unintentionally run the score up. He's not gonna do it intentionally, but he's gonna run his offense. All right, like let's be real here. The last play of the game against who was it? Pat Summit weekend. We threw a bomb to the end zone the last play of the game. I don't remember what it was.
a Hail Mary. We're up by like 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like Josh Heupel is going to run his offense. That's why I'm saying I think the score is going to be 70-14. Because just because Nico comes in, don't mean he's going to sit there and hand the ball off the whole time. They're going to run the offense.
And he shouldn't. He shouldn't.
Absolutely. They're going to run the offense.
Sure,
that's why I think it's going to be that bad.
I'm sure he'll have a outside influence on him running up the score. I'm sure Danny No-Nos will be giving him a little bit of reminder about, Tony Elliott's comment. So just
Hype
my
ain't petty like that. Hype ain't that petty. It's only one coach Hype gonna be that petty, or two coaches Hype gonna be that petty too. And I ain't gotta say that out loud. You know the second one. Yeah. So you can best believe when they come to Knoxville this year. I pray to God. I'm not trying to get too far ahead, but I pray to God that it is so bad that literally South Carolina starts fighting each other. Like I can't wait. Oh my God. South Carolina makes my blood boil, man. I hate them so much. I hate them so much, dude. And I hate them even more because my mom and my sister live there, so it just makes it worse.
Okay, is the audio clear?
No, you're good now.
Yeah. Are you like charging something on your laptop?
No, I'm not.
I don't know.
That's what doesn't make any sense.
I feel like that's the only thing that'll make a sound. Like I don't know.
I will say that Josh Heupel once has opened up against an SEC or an ACC team to open his season. That was his second year at UCF, and they came out and boat raced Georgia Tech. So if you think he's not going to come out here and put the smack,
and Virginia's definitely worse than Georgia Tech. And Josh Heupel absolutely has 10 times the better athletes than Georgia Tech had. So I'm telling you, it's going to be 70-14. I'm telling you, it's going to be bad.
I hope it is. I mean, I really do.
Joe Milton is going to have 5 touchdown passes at 10 minutes left in the second quarter, and he's done. Nico coming in the rest of the game.
Week 2 score, but week 1 against an ACC opponent is crazy that we're talking about 70 points.
It is crazy, but what's even crazier is how bad their roster is.
Okay, so we can all agree 1-0.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving on. Week 2, home opener, 5 p.m., which is kind of a strange time, but I also kind of like it, against Austin Peay. Obviously, I think we'll get to see Nico in this game quite a bit as well. What is everyone's score predictions?
I mean, it's not going to be close.
70-14.
It's not going to be close.
70-14 again, 2 weeks in a row.
I think that Austin Peay, like me locally, I hear a lot about Austin Peay. Like they're definitely like rising as a program, but they're nowhere going to be on the level of a Tennessee SEC Josh Heupel year 3 program. And I think opening up first game in Neyland, it's definitely 100% going to be sold out, and we're selling it out for Austin Peay, which is crazy. I just don't think that it's going to be close.
Sold the game out for freaking Akron,
last year when we opened the season against Ball State, the first play of the game when that trick play picked off, then Hooker finds Jalen Hyatt on the first play of offense. I think we're going to come back with some fireworks. I definitely think Tennessee probably puts more points than they do in Virginia. I said 52 last week. I definitely think Tennessee gets in the 60 range, so I'm going to say 65-10. But this is just another funding the in-state little school and helping them out while they help us.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to the Governors of Austin Peay, but they are a horrible football team, and this game it'll be done after about 10 minutes in the first quarter. I don't even really need to say anything after that. Like maybe Navy Schuler will get some playing time, maybe get some snaps in. He'll probably get some playing time in the fourth quarter. But
I thought that was bad. My man said Navy Schuler.
No disrespect to the Schuler family, of course. Navy's hard-working Vol, but I got the Vols winning 63-3. I think that should be a pretty reasonable score.
70-14. Florida.
Damn, about 14 to Austin Peay. I'd even be more pissed off about that.
All right. 70-7. Cool.
All right.
And a field goal.
That field goal.
I once again am saying that they don't get a touchdown, and I'm going 56-6. So we're all 2-0 now, rolling into Florida week in the swamp. Oh God, every year for as long as I've been watching football, this game is always a shit show. It doesn't matter. The weather's crazy. There's injuries. There's like 10 turnovers. It's a total shit. I don't know. And every time I feel like the past several years we've been like Florida's down, and it's always close or we get our ass beat. So, without further ado, go ahead, Brando.
Last year, okay, we broke the curse. We had a great time in Neyland. I remember us all linking up at the tailgates beforehand. It just felt right. But last 30 seconds, what do? We have our freaking dicks in our hands. We're like worried, like, oh God, we're about to blow this game again. And it goes down to the final second with, Byron Young getting the pass rush on AR and throwing the pick to Kamal Haddon. This game, just because Joe Milton came out with the quote saying that I don't lose in Florida, I promise you it's still going to be a mess. It is going to be back in the swamp. They're going to be out for blood. Their fan base hates us just as much as we hate them. I know a lot of us are planning to travel for that game. I've been seeing a lot of chatter on the Vol Twitters and Facebook. So I definitely think that we're going to have our presence felt like we were in Baton Rouge last year. But I think that we know from the history of this rivalry you can't go in the swamp and expect a blowout. I do think Tennessee gets it done. I think it's finally time for Tennessee to go back in the swamp and get a W. I don't see it being, a touchdown plus game. I think Tennessee wins this game like a 41-36, 41-38, where it might be the same sequence where it's going down to the final play again. It happens every year in this game.
I actually agree with you there. I do.
I don't know. This Florida team might be the worst team that they have had, at least in my lifetime. I mean, honestly, as far as from a talent perspective,
there's no way they lose to Vandy.
Yeah.
They can't.
I mean,
You can't lose to Vandy this year.
But I mean, this, I don't know. They have a lot of questions at quarterback. I'm not sold on Graham Mertz, and he was very mediocre at Wisconsin. They lost Justice Boone for the season. Ironically, after he tore his ACL, celebrating a play in practice, who was supposed to be one of their more contributing guys on the defensive line. And they lost, Cam Carroll, who was a transfer from Tulane. He was going to be a backup or maybe third string, running back. But again, losing a lot of depth already quick, and we're not even through the season hasn't even started yet. I think this game's going to be tough. I'm sure the swamp is going to be chaotic as hell, especially after Joe's comments saying that, I don't lose in Florida. And I'm sure they're going to take that personal. However, I can't see us lose this game. I just can't see it from a talent perspective. And I think Heupel learned his lesson from last year about pumping the brakes offensively a little too early and allowing an opponent to come back and nearly try to snag at the end. I think Tennessee's going to cover. They're 7-point favorites. I got the Vols winning 42-28.
Okay, I like that. Me personally, I'm really on the train with Brando. I really am. I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. Just like last year, I didn't pick Tennessee to beat Alabama. I really didn't. I was like, until they do it, I'm not gonna pick them. Same thing with Georgia. But this game here, since they finally beat Florida last year, I think it's probably like a 24-28. 24, maybe 35 game, 24-35. I do think Tennessee wins it, but I do think Tennessee don't run away with it till 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter because Florida's going to bring all they got and give everything they got. It doesn't matter how bad that roster is. They're still going to come out and play football. I mean, 2016, Vanderbilt had no business hanging with Tennessee. Tennessee's supposed to be going to ACC championship game, and Vanderbilt comes out and beats them at home with the best running back in the country, and Alvin Kamara, with a great quarterback in Dobbs, with the sack leader in Derek Barnett, and they lost that game. So, I got to see it to believe it. I'm kind of on that train a little bit, but Tennessee should win. But if Tennessee does lose, I won't be surprised.
Graham Mertz has a lot of question marks coming out around him, obviously coming from a school going into the SEC. The problem he did have, a couple years ago is how he stares down his wide receivers. Now he has a lot more weapons. Florida does have some promising guys at wide receiver like Aiden Mazzell and some other ones that they picked up in the 2023 class.
If Ricky Parcells is your best player, your best wide receiver, I think you have a problem, bro. And that's no disrespect to him at all.
That's fair.
It's no disrespect to him at all. But I just think if he's your best wide receiver, I think you're probably in trouble. But I could be wrong. They could have a great season.
I think there's two things that are really important when Tennessee gets into the trenches of their schedule, and it's going to be obviously one well known is the offensive line. All the question marks there. We're still trying to figure out the rotation there 10 days away. But also, I think Tennessee has to be elite on special teams this year. And that is a very underrated comment, but I think it's going to be really important in a lot of games of setting the tone.
I feel you on that, man. I actually agree there too. I think that game will be the driving wheel for their season. If they lose that game, I think the season might be a little bit suspect. But if they win that game, I think you can build off of that, and you can go out and win a game or two, maybe that you aren't expected to win, aka Alabama, Georgia. But neither here nor there. I do think Tennessee wins, and Cooper's not really hurt. Yeah, he just has it's a hernia, man. There's nothing you can really do about that.
Exactly.
He'll be fine. It's not like it's a knee problem or some crap like that. So I'm optimistic. I think he'll be back then. It kind of sucks. That'll be his first game, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I think so. All of these are very fair points. I know that we did beat them last year, but it was a complete nail biter. And I mean, we haven't beat them in the swamp in 20 fucking years. 20 years. Every time we go, it doesn't matter. Just everything hits the fan. It makes me extremely nervous. I feel horrible that whole week because of this. I never know what's going to happen. But I do think that this time our talent just has to prevail at this point. When you look at the rosters, there's no excuse for me, even if there's some fucking voodoo magic going on, that they lose this game. So I do think it will be close. I think there's going to be like more than 3 turnovers, very sloppy, but I'm going 34-28. A lower score for us. We probably aren't as efficient on offense as we want to be. Kind of like Rob said, late in the fourth, we finally take control. I think it's a flip of last year's game where we started hot and then kind of almost lost it at the end. I think it'll reverse a little bit this year. But I do think that we pull out the win against them. And I think that is fundamental for the rest of the season if we can win in the swamp. That confidence is going to soar if they can do that.
Yeah, going on the road winning there is really good. I mean, if you think, and if we're being honest, like you can play the what if games and play hypotheticals all day, but I'm a believer in knowing when to believe and not to believe a hypothetical. If we're being honest, if Callaway doesn't drop that 4th down pass at Florida, he probably scores, and it's probably a different ball game. But when he dropped that 4th down pass, that just took the life out of him. So Tennessee really should be on a 2-game win streak against Florida, in my opinion.
Lowe's comments about turnovers made me think about, our road games last year and, playing in fucking Sanford, in South Carolina. Like the pre-snap penalties, I think, has to be fixed this year. And that's another big, question with the offensive line. Going into those hostile environments where you're in those games and it gets loud, I know we have that same effect on people when they come to Neyland, but with how fast our offense goes, it is a very common error. And I think that, we had a lot of guys that had won their route when that play came back and pre-snap penalty false start. A lot of guys are going to have to step up. I know Carvin gone. You have guys like Spraggins, trying to be elite. The whole Gerald Mincy thing, trying to get figured out if he's going to be on the right or left side, if he's going to commit to what they want him to do. I think that really tones to how Tennessee season goes. But the pre-snap penalties, man, when we went into other environments, going into the swamp now, that's going to be huge in my opinion. Like, they're going to be loud. They're always loud.
If that Georgia game didn't teach them nothing last year, I don't know what will. That Georgia game should be the stamp inside of the program under Josh Heupel of, all right, now we know how to get punched in the mouth on the road and respond. Now, granted, did the rain have something to do with it? Yes, but at the same time, did Georgia take their foot off the gas? Yes. So you can play what ifs on that too. You know what I mean? But I do feel like that game should have prepared them for this road game, because I do think Georgia might have been the loudest game Tennessee played last year, outside of, in Knoxville, but I mean like away from home, whatnot. That might have been the loudest road environment that they went on. So
I just don't see the Swamp though. Just in this case, just being louder than what Athens was last year, just because of all the implications that was in that Tennessee-Georgia game last year, and not to mention that was the biggest home game Georgia's probably had in about 10 years anyway. So I just can't necessarily just see the Swamp being as chaotic. I think it's going to be loud, but I mean, every SEC stadium is loud in conference play when you're on the road, except for Vanderbilt, of course. But, I mean, this shouldn't be – but this should not be like a concern or anything like that.
28,000 seats they play in 3 days. What the
my God. Next. All right. So everyone's still – we're all undefeated at this point. And then we have UTSA, which they won 11 games last year. So it's not like they're a piece of shit. I mean, at all. I do think we're going to be pretty tired after a Florida win. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be some weird fall off game. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I'm going to tell you right now, UTSA going to find a way to come in here and score points. Like, that's just what they do. They have had recent success the last few years, but it's not going to be like a crazy number where it's in the 30s or anything. Like, let's be respectful. Let's be understanding. I think Tennessee's going to have their way with their offense. I think UTSA is going to have a few chances with their offense, but I think it's going to be a really good top 25 matchup by the time it's, week 4 and we're playing this game. Obviously coming off a huge Florida victory. What? UTSA is a good football program. They're going to be in the top 25.
They're not going to be in the top 25 because they're going to lose to Houston week 1, dude.
No, they're not. That is
yes, they are.
I'm gonna let you finish it.
Just go ahead, Brando. That's fine.
They've had some pretty good offenses. I think it's gonna be like a 52-21. Is that okay?
This guy. Oh my gosh.
Drew.
Well, that's irrelevant. That was last year. We're talking about this year. All right. If you want to be hung up in the past, you be you, buddy. But this is Tennessee football. We're focused on the present and the future. We're not hung up on the past. All right. So I'm not denying the fact that UTSA had a good season last year. For Conference USA, they were a good team. And they did have a good quarterback under Frank Harris. He threw over 4,000 yards last year and 32 touchdowns. But this UTS team, they only scored 12 against Troy last year. If we allow more than 12 against UTSA, this is ridiculous.
All right,
we have far more depth and far more talent. From all across the board. I think it'll be like a 45. Well, I wouldn't say 45. I would say, 38-10. I think 38-10 would be a pretty reasonable score for this game.
Look, man, listen to me. Well, I'm gonna tell you like I told everybody else. Just a couple weeks ago, I got asked the question, "Oh man, what do you think UTSA is gonna do when they come into Knoxville?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, do you think it's gonna be a close game?" No, I don't think it's gonna be a close game. Like, all right, Josh Heupel is in year 3. Yes, I'm not downplaying that, but dude, it's UTSA against Tennessee. All right, we're gonna be a top 5, top 10 team when they come around. Then, man, like that. We do not have to come into Saturdays worrying about a team that was good or has been good the last few years that is literally in a conference that I can't even name you right now. All right, like let's just call a spade, okay? Like we're past those days of worrying about Georgia State and stuff like that and going into the game worried. We're past those days. Josh Heupel there has not been one football game that Tennessee has played since Josh Heupel has been here where they were sleepwalking. Not one. People thought they were sleepwalking against Pittsburgh last year. No, they weren't. Pittsburgh just had a really good defense, and it took Tennessee to the fourth quarter and ended the game to figure it out. That's all that was. All right. Josh Heupel ain't never had a sleepwalking team since he's been here in all the games he's played. And that's the reason why Tennessee beat Alabama last year and then came back the next week and did what? Beat the brakes off of Will Simpson or whatever his name is. I don't like him, so I ain't even finna acknowledge him like that. But point remains, man. Come on. This is Tennessee. We're not worried about UTSA no more. We're not worried about those Georgia States and teams. Stop, man. We're not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes to like even Rob's point as well. This gives me like the same vibes from like 10 years ago when Utah State was coming here and everyone's like, I don't know. Utah State won 10 games last year. They're pretty good. They played well, like in the Sun Belt, and like we beat them 38-6.
I mean, if your quarterback has been in college for 6 years, he
like,
should have a good season. And this is no disrespect to Hendon Hooker, but last year was Hendon Hooker's what, 6th year? So
Yeah,
yes, he was
exactly.
that all-star quarterback. He's in college for 6 years. At some point, it has to click. It has to. So I mean, their quarterback is a 7th-year senior. So I mean, I would hope he's throwing for 4,000 yards and 76 touchdowns, playing against high schools every weekend. I hope so. Like you're 27 playing against 18-year-olds. You should be able to do that. You should. I'm just saying. Like I said, no disrespect to Hendon Hooker. I'm just saying, Hendon Hooker gets way more respect because he's in the SEC. So age number don't matter in the SEC. But in these other conferences, come on now. 27-year-old quarterback, I would hope he's doing damage.
Fair point.
I'm just
All right. I said like 41-20. I think that's fine. I don't see any issues with that. Like I said, I think they'll be tired from their Florida win. And then we have the stupid Gamecocks coming September 30th. Huge revenge game. Huge revenge game. I'm so happy this is at home. I wish that we would put triple digits on them. I know we aren't going to do that, but that would be fucking awesome.
63-14. That's my prediction. I'm not even talking about this game. 63-14. I ain't got nothing else to say about it.
I have 63-20, so I'm right around there with you.
I need Josh Heupel and the Vols to come out here and make Shane Beamer in South Carolina look how we made Kentucky and Missouri look like last year when they.
Oh, they will. You can believe that. They will.
1,000%.
They
We
will.
are having the whole motherfucking spooky Rocky Top ordeal, dark mode, light it up. I don't care if it's a month early. We gotta whip some ass, and it's definitely a revenge game.
Most
we gotta
definitely.
get the record book straight and
Most definitely.
get that sour taste out.
To all Tennessee fans that don't know this, I'm going to let you in on this little secret. It's not a secret, but some Tennessee fans don't know this. Shane Beamer and that little muskerat at Missouri talked the absolute most trash about Tennessee and Josh Heupel. It is always extremely disrespectful, and all the recruits and the players have known it, they've heard it, everything like that. It's also why South Carolina has actually missed out on a few players because they down talk Tennessee so much that the kids are like, man, I don't even I'm good. So if there's one game on this schedule that I know for a fact Josh Heupel ain't gonna take his foot off the gas, it's definitely this game. Because guess what? South Carolina didn't take their foot off the gas last year. Hendon Hooker tore his ACL and they went and scored the next play. So you can see how this game's gonna go. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.
I mean, I think this is going to be the most hostile, chaotic environment you have ever seen in Neyland Stadium. Probably in its over 100 plus years. It's like that's standing. I think it's going to be.
I don't know. Ole Miss.
It's getting Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Tennessee
Ole
was
Miss
the closest it's been to a championship since 1998, and when it got their asses handed to them. If you think that game ain't bothering Josh Heupel because he know they would have been in the playoffs last year, you can bet your ass you tripping.
I'm
Believe
telling
that.
you, every single player that was returning after that game, returning here, has that game circled as the one where they're not going to forget.
I can promise you that shit hanging in the locker room right now.
Exactly.
Right now it's in the locker room somewhere.
And
I can tell you that.
I think it's just an incredible recipe for Tennessee just to be able to beat the absolute dog shit out of them. I mean, they have an awful offensive line, averaged 2.38 sacks allowed per game last year, 31 sacks the entire year. They're replacing Marshawn Lloyd. They don't really have an answer at running back. Marshawn Lloyd was really good last season. I think a lot of people kind of underestimate him. And you know that defensive line and, our linebackers are going to be chasing Spencer Rattler all night long, no matter what. And I saw the line today. Tennessee is 12.5-point favorites in this game. I'm telling you right now, you take out a loan of $10,000. You do whatever. Put your life savings. Tennessee's going to cover that. They're going to double that. They're going to triple that. They're going to quadruple that. I got the Vols winning this game 66-24.
I didn't get my score. I got it like 56-13 for sure.
Either way, whatever it is, I love that, Drew. I want to jump in on that bet ASAP because that's really not much of a spread at all. We could all make quite a bit of money. So just saying, I'm not giving betting advice, but that is a damn good pick. I will say that. Coming up next, we got a bye week, and then, of course, Texas A&M. Obviously, as it stands right now, it's a top 25 matchup. I'm assuming it still will be when it comes around. I can't wait for this game. My boyfriend is going to get to go to this game, his first ever American football game. He has no idea what to expect.
He don't know what he's in
Awesome.
for. He has no clue. The sad part is, well, it's not a sad thing, but the best part about it is he has no idea what you about to do at this game. He has no clue.
No.
He's going to be like, oh, my God.
He did have to watch me watch the Vols lose in March Madness. So that was pretty bad too, but nothing compared to this. Yeah. So I have no idea he has no idea what he's going to witness all day. It's going to be an event.
I can't wait.
It's so weird, man, because Texas A&M, like, I do understand the hype around them, but, like, they've been building this thing for, like, year after year after year. And obviously, like, their outcome last year does not match what they've been able to do in recruiting. Like, all the talent in the world is at Texas A&M. They added Bobby Petrino. Evan Stewart is a wide receiver that is, making a name for himself all throughout college football before the season. Everyone's showing a lot of hype there. I just think that, A&M coming into an environment like Neyland, if Tennessee is how we predict is undefeated going into this game, I think that we're not going to overlook A&M as a fan base. I think that the whole crowd will be there. I think this will still be a huge environment. I just don't think that teams understand how hard it is to play and come into Neyland until they do it. And A&M hasn't done that in a few years. So, me personally, I think the offense is going to be able to click. I think all the talent is there, but I think this is a lot closer than people will give the credit for. I think it's close to the Florida game I predicted. I think Tennessee still gets in that 40-point range, but it's going to be 41-31 for me.
Well, y'all going to hate me for this, but I think Texas A&M is Tennessee's first loss of the season. I do. I'm sorry. I just got to be realistic here. I think Texas A&M clicks this year. I really do. I think they have the answers and the pieces at every single position on both sides of the ball. They do. They brought back 16 out of 22 starters. All right. If it doesn't work this year, all right, I get it. They got to get rid of Jimbo. But I do think this year is the year for it to click. Now that Bobby Petrino is going to be calling plays, if Jimbo Fisher leaves him alone and he leaves the defensive side alone, it just lets them do their thing. I think Texas, like I said earlier, I think Texas A&M is going to be really good. And I think Tennessee loses their first game at home. I think the score will be 28-31, 28-35, somewhere around there. I hate to say it, but I do think that's their first loss.
I mean, I think outside of Georgia, at least from a talent perspective, Texas A&M might be the most talented team in the SEC. I mean, just based off their recruiting classes that they've had the last 3 or 4 years, consistently getting top 5 recruiting classes. Even a couple of years ago, I think they racked the one with Walter Nolan. They racked up the number 1 class in the country. So talent is not an issue with this team, and they're returning several guys defensively as well that they'll need all the experience that they can get. My thing is can Jimbo Fisher get out of his own way and allow his team actually fulfill their potential, which I think personally, no, I don't think he can. I think that Texas A&M certainly has the talent and the pieces to be able to give Tennessee a run for its money. And, I mean, as Rob said, I mean, they could certainly win the West. There's no denying that. I mean, the pieces are there, but the thing is that the coaching staff is going to be able to, not completely implode in the middle of the season like they did last year. And I just got a feeling with the two egos of Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino being on the same coaching staff, something is going to give. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. But I think this is going to be the closest win Tennessee's had all year. And I think it's going to come down to the final possession as well. But I got the Vols escaping a win 34-30.
Remember, man, a lot of people sleeping on this, but I'm not. A&M might have the second or third best wide receiver core in the country, for one. All right. For two, A&M probably got a top 5 defensive line in the country. We can push it even top 10, but either way it goes, they got some dogs over there at each and every position. If their quarterback can get the receivers the ball, man, I'm telling you, bro, even if there's turmoil or whatever the case may be with the coaching staff, if the players just come together and say, F it, we ball, what can happen? Oh, you can beat the number 5 team in the country, LSU. Oh, that's what can happen. I think they build off of that. I think they come in Neyland undefeated, and I think it's going to be a damn good football game. I do. Call me crazy, but
I don't know. I'm so worked up for this. I like all of the points here, Rob. I think you're dead on. Everyone's dead on in the fact that they could absolutely lose their first game here at home. For me, though, I think that we are still more talented. If Joe is firing and everything is good on our offense and our O-line is good, I still just don't see how they can stop us from getting that one more, just that one extra little bit. Also, adding to that, if we're talking coaches, for some reason, I just trust in Heupel to win this in the end, even if it's this, like literally this close last play. He's shown us that he can do that time and time again. He's the only coach that I've ever watched since I've been watching football as a Vol fan where I actually trust that we can score in the last play or the last drive or the last whatever. And I don't think that he's going to let this one slip up. I think it's going to be a huge atmosphere. I think it's going to be out of control. I think it's going to be close, but I think we win 38-31.
Fair. Definitely fair. I mean, I could see it both ways. I could see it both ways. I could, man.
They've just been like quietly stacking talent, man. And like Rob said, man, it doesn't matter what the coaches are doing. If Jimbo has a power trip mid-season, like these guys, like we've seen the trend of how this day and age of recruiting class and all these rankings of how accurate they really are when it comes to what these players end up doing in their career. And I think no matter what, like it's going to be a really tough game.
Like these guys aren't getting that NIL money if they're not performing. Like I think last year was all right, cool. You had a garbage year, but you want this money, you better come play some football. Like we're not having another season we had last year. I mean, Jimbo's done it. He's had what a 10-2 season or whatever it was a few years ago when we had to play them. Pruitt's last year, 2020. Yeah, like they had a really good team that year, man. So it's there. You know Jimbo can do it. He has a national championship as a head coach at Florida State. It's there. You know he can do it. If everything's all together, like they can win a championship too.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's out of the question. Mm-hmm. So checking in now, I'm still saying we're undefeated at this point. Brando, where are you at?
We're definitely still undefeated at this point.
Okay. Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I still got us undefeated. I think it's going to be a close game against Texas A&M. They have Tennessee as 6-point favorites. I don't even think we cover that. I think it could easily be, even a 3-point game or even less. They're both pretty even teams as far as talent goes, in my opinion. But, as kind of like with the Lowe's point, if there's any coach, especially after watching Alabama last year, if there's any coach that I trust that could be able to drive down 30, 45 yards in a span of 20 or 30 seconds, it's definitely Heupel.
Absolutely. So us three are undefeated. Rob has us at our first loss, and we are going into Alabama away. God, they're going to be so pissed off. I can't even imagine what we're going to be.
35-28 Vols, baby.
Oh.
Dub.
Wow.
Listen.
Yes, I did say that. Yes, I did.
Okay. All right.
Hear me out, all right? I've been saving this point for here. A lot of these schools, are just now in the last week. Georgia naming Carson Beck their starting quarterback. Today we figured out, who Virginia's starting quarterback is going to be when we play them week 1. Tennessee has had a whole year knowing Joe Milton is their guy. As far as I know, Alabama has still not announced a starting quarterback between Tyler Buchanan,
it's gonna be
Ty
Milroe.
Simpson, and Jalen Milroe. It's probably going to be Milroe. But I don't there's still a chance that you should probably already have your guy by now. You don't go into the transfer portal and take Notre Dame's starting quarterback for no reason, in my opinion.
Let's be real, he was not their starting quarterback. He lost that job after he threw 3 interceptions against Marshall in the second game. So
not Marshall.
Let's just push it back a little. Just push.
He wasn't at home, was he?
Even regardless, their on 3 guys have they've had their scrimmage notes, they've had their practice notes, and there's just been a lot of little errors, that are not really common in Nick Saban teams that you don't really hear the last decade. I definitely think there's a lot of question marks with the talent. They're really just recycling, still trying to figure it out with this group of guys. But I think Tennessee, what they did last year, they don't have as many question marks in my opinion. And I think that it is going to be an environment where you go in and you are literally hated. Like, these people are pissed that we took their song, we smoked cigars in their face, and, you know, got a game-winning field goal by Chase McGrath. These people are going to be sick if they see us there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I definitely think nothing is impossible. I think Tennessee, like I said, going into the Swamp has to break a curse. I think the Bryant-Denny going into Tuscaloosa, Tennessee is going to have to find a way to win this game. I think they genuinely do. I think Tennessee's D-line comes in clutch. I think there's a lot of positivities that we're going to figure out about this Tennessee defense in year 3 of this staff, and I think Tennessee finds a way to win this game on the road. I'm saying 38-37, nail-biter.
Ooh.
Oh, my God.
Look,
I mean,
it's okay, Drew. Give them their first loss. We see it on your face.
No, I mean, just hear me out. All right. There's actually a lot of arguments that I can understand and actually agree with on why Tennessee could potentially win this game. You know, there's so many question marks at quarterback. This is probably the weakest quarterback room Nick Saban has ever had in his 15 years as Alabama's head coach.
Mm-hmm.
You really think about it. I mean, there's not a single guy within, you know, Tyler Buckner, Jalen Milroe, and Ty Simpson where you really feel like that they could play at that level that Alabama, that we've been so accustomed of seeing Alabama playing, you know, for the last almost 2 decades now. They're replacing 4 out of their 5 starters on the offensive line. They're replacing both of their playmakers on offense and defense, which is Bryce Young and Will Anderson as well. Tennessee's coming off a bye week that week before, you know, has a whole entire extra week preparation and getting healed, you know, and Alabama's playing Arkansas the week before. And a lot of people forget Alabama's got a little bit of a tough schedule to start off the year because they'll be playing 3 ranked opponents before they play us, with Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Texas as well. So there's a potential, you know, them being, you know, possibly banged up or, you know, missing a couple of starters or here or there. But if you don't think Nick Saban didn't have this game scheduled, you know, like circled after how we beat them last year and all the shit talk, playing Dixieland Delight in front of them, seeing Henry Teat cry like a little bitch. I mean, you could bet your ass that this game, like, Saban's going to do anything he possibly can to win this game. I think Tennessee's going to keep it close through about 55, 56 minutes of it. Unfortunately, and I had this vision in the back of my head, I think Milton's going to throw a real costly pick near the end of the game. I got Alabama win this game 45-35.
Yeah, unfortunately, now I didn't have some terrible future vision like Drew. I'm not that crazy.
It's a name calling me, so.
But there's just, honestly, the biggest reason that I chose this as the first loss for me is because I don't want to look crazy with the rest of my picks. And I don't know if we have what it takes to get it done. I know that we have what it takes to get it done. I don't know if it's all going to operate against how angry, pissed off, etc. they are, and it's away. I just don't know if it's going to all come through and come together. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong. But for the sake of me not looking like a psychopath and say we're going undefeated all year, I said that we lose 42-31.
I think that's fair. I do. The reason why I know it sounds crazy, we lose A&M, we beat Alabama, but the reason I say that is because Josh Heupel shows no fear. He has showed zero fear since he's been here. Josh Heupel took a 63 scholarship team to Bryant-Denny and made it a game all the way to, you know, midway through the 4th quarter. All right. You got a lot more talent. It hasn't been proven yet, but you got a better quarterback. You got better running back room. You have better receivers than Hooker had at the time. Better receivers. The O-line is still a question mark, but I would think by that time the O-line would be figured out by then, hopefully. So, and I just, like I said, I don't know if Alabama's going to have this quarterback situation figured out. Definitely, if Ty Simpson starts, Tennessee's going to be ready to take his head off. So that's one reason I think so. Yeah. But if Nick Saban, which I think he probably will, if Nick Saban tailors the offense around Jalen Milroe, I do think it could be a difficult game, but Tennessee could possibly lose because you can't deny Milroe's his talent and athleticism. He's literally Lamar Jackson. He just can't throw it that well. But if he figures out how to throw the football, I mean, Jalen Milroe could be one of the best quarterbacks. He could really be the next Michael Vick, if I'm being real, if he figures it out and puts it together. He's even more athletic than Michael Vick, too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if your quarterback is running a 4.3, he's the fastest on your team. If he can put that all together, bro, Alabama's going to be unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if he will or not. He's going to have to prove it. So until then, I'm taking Tennessee 35-28 in Bryant-Denny.
I remember when Milroe debuted against Arkansas and bro just avoided 3 tackles.
60-yard run on
found
the second
hole
play he
and
was in, bro. You can't do
gone.
nothing about that. You can't do that about it.
2 weeks ago on my TikTok pops up Jalen Milroe doing the crossbar challenge. Man hit it from 60 yards. He has an arm. He's just not accurate. I think that's definitely something to be figured out. But obviously, I just don't see.
If there's ever a time for you to beat Alabama back-to-back while Nick Saban is there, this year has to be the year, because I can tell you right now, next year, that quarterback they got coming in, true freshman, Julian Sand, I can promise you he's starting day one. That dude is him for real, for real. I'm talking about him. So if you want to be, you better beat Alabama this year. You better, because I don't know if it's going to happen next year, because that dude coming in is the truth. So.
Great point.
What's going to be crazy is when, how we did Dixieland Delight last year. If we pull off the win in Tuscaloosa, do they just silence their whole production? Do they just put the stadium pitch quiet?
Dude, if we beat Alabama, in Bryant-Denny, it would not surprise me if their own inbred redneck fans burned down their own stadium because they're that angry. It would not surprise me in the slightest.
Unfortunately, I actually agree because they are that crazy, man. They are. I grew up in the state of Alabama. Those people are that crazy. I've seen it, man. I've seen it. So, yeah.
Well, those 2 weeks between Alabama and A&M are going to be nail biters for sure. And honestly, we just have to wait and see. It's very interesting. Next, Kentucky. I just, for the life of me, I was looking at some other media picks, and first of all, this media pick that I saw earlier today said that we were starting out with 4 losses or some shit. It was hilarious. They said that we were losing to UTSA, Kentucky, Missouri, and beating Georgia. They were so completely off base. But they did say we were going to lose to Kentucky. I don't think we're losing to Kentucky. I don't see how at all.
I think Kentucky is a very much improved team, especially at the quarterback position. I think Devin Leary is a very, very good quarterback. But I don't think that Kentucky beats us in Kroger Field. It's just not going to happen.
Kentucky's probably going to win 10 games next year.
Yeah.
People are really, really sleeping on Kentucky, but I'm not one of the people doing so. I'm not saying Tennessee loses at Kentucky, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. That game is going to be very, very close. I think that game comes down to the last play as well.
Yeah, I think Stoops. I think Stoops hates.
Gotta be real, man.
Gotta be real. Let's not forget the first 2 years of Josh Heupel trying to recruit and what Mark Stoops and Kentucky were doing in our recruiting process. Let's not forget those stories. I think that the hatred is there, but I do think it's a game that we can put on the calendar and be oh, that's going to be a very, very close game. Besides last year, I think this is going to be one where Kentucky tries to get their get back, but I don't see them being able to pull it off against Tennessee. I think it's going to be a 45-38. I think Tennessee wins by 1 score.
I think this is going to be a much closer game than last year was, which obviously is not saying much at all because that game was over after about the second quarter.
It was over at Spooky Rocky Top 2. It was over at
for
kickoff.
real.
It was
no, you're completely right on that. But they have upgraded tremendously at the quarterback position. I think Devin Leary is a really good quarterback. He was a preseason ACC Player of the Year last year, and even in 2021, he threw 35 touchdowns. So they definitely upgraded in that position, but you got to remember as well, they're trying to replace Chris Rodriguez and Kavosi Smoke as well. They're 2 top rushers. Now they do have a couple good wideouts who are both coming in sophomores with Dane Key and Varian Brown, who both led the team in touchdowns last year. But they only got 20 sacks last season. They returned a few guys from last year on defensively, but I just think this is a game where I don't know necessarily if Joe Milton's going to light it up. I think our running back room is going to come into huge use in this game. And I could definitely see Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, getting a touchdown or 2 each. I think it's going to be closer to last year, but I still got the Vols win this one 52-31.
Okay. Well, Rob, you got yours?
Yeah, sorry, I was pouring myself some drink. I didn't want y'all to splash and whatnot. But I do think Tennessee comes in and steals it and wins it at the end. I got Tennessee winning 42-45.
All right. Very close. I mean, I was there last time we beat Kentucky at Kentucky, and I got my video with Coach Heupel. That was pretty fun.
Oh, when you yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Danny White. But
Danny, my dog.
I will not be going back this time. That was a shit. I mean, I got kicked out of the bar for singing Rocky Top up there. Everything.
I love it.
But I will say, I think we get things done. I'm going 34-21. I mean, I don't see this as a trap game. There's a game that I have definitely circled as a trap game coming up, but not this one. I think that we're fine here. So next game is UConn. I think it's going to be a decent recovery game.
Yeah, we can just blow past that one. That's going to be whatever. W.
UConn, made the waves of last year having the worst season, one of the worst seasons in college football history. Like, they just could not catch a break.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they won like 6 games last year. I think that's like what made it.
Before that, they lost.
Yeah, the year before that. But now, I mean, they got Jim Moore as their head coach, which is cool, seeing a former NFL head coach over there. And I think, I think he's doing a good, some good things over there. But it's not really going to make a difference in this game. And, we're going to be getting revenge on Gino and UConn's women basketball after all the years. So I got Vols winning 56-17.
Yeah.
63-6, easy money.
60-10, boom. Next song you want to talk about that?
I just said 42-17. I don't know why, but that's what I'm put down. Sounds right.
Yeah.
Next game, this is my trap game. I think this is such a fucking dangerous game with Missouri. They're returning a ton of players. Mm-hmm. It is right before playing Georgia, way late in the season. This Missouri game is our South Carolina of last year, and we absolutely cannot look ahead to Georgia. If we do, this is a loss, hands down.
I'm gonna compare my Missouri and Georgia games in the same statements back to back, but with the Missouri one, how they handled Georgia until the fourth quarter last year was a crazy sequence. I can't watching that game after we played and being holy shit.
Yeah, Georgia should have lost that game.
Missouri's in this game in the fourth quarter was absolutely insane. I definitely think that Eli is as much of a dork that he is. Obviously he hates Tennessee. How Rob said he's recruited against Tennessee, how he talks about Tennessee. No respect for us at all, especially how he did last year when Tennessee was in the playoff race trying to get as many points as they can. Joe Milton comes out 63 yards to Squirrel White. Couldn't even see the football in Neyland Stadium. We demolished them. I think they want to beat our ass. It's going to be a really, really close game, but I got Tennessee 45-35. I think Tennessee gets it done, but I definitely see the potential of Missouri coming out hungry and being really hyped for this game.
I'll tell you what. If it is a daytime game at 11 a.m., Tennessee wins 56-28. Maybe not even that much. If it's a nighttime game and it's cold and the weather is absolutely awful, I'm not gonna say Tennessee's gonna lose. I think Tennessee wins the game. But if it's a night game and the weather is absolute dog-ish and it's super cold, Tennessee could possibly lose that game. But if it's in the morning, it's gonna be a blowout, 100%. Not even up for debate. It'll be an absolute blowout, which it probably will be because Missouri will probably be 3-2 or whatever at that point. They probably won't be that good. I can't think off the top of my head. But,
3-2.
Whatever.
They're going to be playing a lot more than that.
That's what I said.
A lot of games canceled because of COVID.
That's what I said. I can't think of the actual number off my head. But I don't think they'll be good. I don't. I mean, I know they hate us and whatnot, but Josh Heupel also hates them.
Man, their quarterback's too busy playing baseball.
Well,
so I'm not worried about them. I'm not.
Going back to Brando's point about not seeing the football in that game last year against Missouri, I think there was definitely, and Brando, you could agree with me on this one, there was a lot of other factors as to why we weren't able to see the football in that game. But on a more serious note, though, a lot of people forget about this, because Tennessee lit them up last year, 724 yards total offense in that game, which is unbelievable to think. But, if they just allowed their season average, which was 340 yards, their defense did last year, they would have finished 12th in the nation for total defense. They actually had a really good defense.
Yeah, they were top 10 until they played us.
Yeah, they dropped from 12 to 34, from that game alone, which is unbelievable to think. But they're a pretty damn good team, and they got about two guys over there on defense side of the ball. They're preseason All-SEC. Chris Abrams-Draney, who's defensive back, he's going to be really good. And Tyron Hopper as well, who had 77 tackles and 2.5 sacks and 13.5 tackles for losses as well last year. Really good player. Like, I agree with Brando in the sense that their quarterback situation is really iffy. But they do have a couple good wideouts. It's kind of like what Rob said. This kind of reminds me a little bit like how a couple years ago we played Missouri at noon. We beat the daylights out of them. It was over by the third quarter. But in years past, when we have played them at night, it's been close ball games or we've been blown out as well. And I think this could definitely be a trap game. This might be, I would even argue, maybe the second toughest defense Tennessee will play all season. But I think Tennessee pulls away at the end 31-21.
All right. That was a great point, Rob, because I didn't even think about like the time being a huge factor, but you're absolutely right. In times past, it has been. I agree with Drew. I think this is a huge trap game. It does make me nervous. I just feel like we're going to be shaky for whatever reason, but I am still going to say that we're winning 34-24. It's going to be a lot closer than what we like, in my opinion.
For sure. The weather on that day will determine if Tennessee wins or loses or has a super, super close game, for sure.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. And now rolling in to massive game. I'm so happy this is at home. I did have a weird vision for this game like Drew did earlier. So I'm saying that we're going to be down late in the fourth quarter. It's 27-28. And then just kind of like a replica of Alabama, Joe Milton throws a bomb to get us to field goal range, and we have another iconic winning field goal.
See, the last 2 years when I've talked about this game, it's been obvious that the talent differential was really there. Tennessee, the last 2 years, they haven't caught all the way up, but they've caught up enough where the talent we put on the field, you can go out there and be confident in them for a championship kind of level play every single Saturday. I talked about Missouri, how they put, Georgia on notice. I think how Georgia went to Missouri and they struggled last year. They're coming in to play Neyland Stadium. When we talked about their schedule this past year and what it's going to be this year, when the biggest game that everyone's looking forward to is that game when they come here in November in Neyland. And if you think for 1 second that Tennessee's not trying to break like what we did against Alabama of a 125.4 decibels, you're absolutely mad. I know it's going to be cold. I know weather might be a factor, but I think there will not be an empty seat in this game. And I think that it's going to be a nail-biter. I think it's going to be a crazy finish. But for some reason, I think that Tennessee wins this football game 34-31. It's just what?
God.
I'm laughing at Drew. I'm not laughing at you. Drew's looking at you like, bro, I can't wait till you shut up so I can talk.
Drew did the same thing last year, bro. But I think that there's going to be championship-level play. And I just think it goes to what we've built the last 3 years. I don't think that this team, coached by Josh Heupel, any Saturday is going to go and bend down against anybody. Last year against Georgia, we talked about it a few episodes ago, Rob, of how they went into Georgia with the confidence they had, the way that they get prepped every single week. I think this week, we talked about South Carolina being in the locker room. What could have been if Tennessee had 1 to 2 more good drives last year in Sanford Stadium? I think they want to get that get back.
You want to go, Drew? You want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Good Lord. But
Drew's about to shit himself over there.
I think people forget that the Georgia probably, in my opinion, has the best wide receiver / tight end room in America. When you think about it, they're returning Brock Bowers, who in my opinion is probably going to be a top 5 draft pick. Absolutely. He's the best tight end in America by far. Lad McConkey, who's been great for them under the slot as well. And not to mention the 2 guys that they got in the portal as well, Rara Thomas, who led Mississippi State in receiving yards last year, and Dominic Levitt, who led receiving yards from Missouri as well. Dude, they're loaded from the wide receiver position. It couldn't matter. It doesn't matter who they have at quarterback. They could have Jarrett Garantano at quarterback, and they're still going to be able to average, 35, 40 points a game. And, the return of 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line, and even Kirby Smart and his staff believes that they have 10 guys on that offensive line that are ready, good to go, that could play day one. So they have the depth, and they've returned several starters in their defensive line too. I think this game is going to be closer. I think Neyland Stadium is going to be chaotic. I think it's going to be outside of South Carolina, probably the best atmosphere all season long. And I think we're going to have opportunities where we could win this game. But I don't know, man. Georgia's fucking good. I mean, Georgia's really damn good. And the amount of talent that they have on all sides of the ball is pretty extraordinary. I got the Vols losing this game. I got them losing 35-28.
Let me real quick before you go, Rob, just point out who Georgia plays in the weeks leading up to us. So they play Florida, and then they play Missouri, who gave them a hell of a run last year, and then they play Ole Miss as well, and then they play us. I think that's a huge factor as well. I mean, we're playing them way late in the season. They have to come to us. That's not just cakewalks in the 3 weeks before us either. So I'm taking that into account as well. And I just think it's time. I really think we're going to do it. But go ahead, Rob.
Call me crazy. I already know. But I am not picking Tennessee to beat Georgia until they do it. I'm just not going to do it. You can't really compare the Missouri-Georgia game last year because let's be honest here. Do you think Georgia was sleepwalking against Missouri? Hell yes, they were. Mm-hmm. And they almost got beat for it. But what happened after that? They went and blew everybody else out on their schedule. That's what they do. That's what Georgia does. So if you think Georgia ain't going to come into Knoxville and in their minds they know they're going to win this football game, you're kidding yourself. I think Georgia comes in and I think they beat Tennessee. I say like 30-20, 30-14 maybe. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I don't. Yeah. And that's just me being honest. It's been the same thing every single year since Kirby Smart has been there outside of Bush Jones' first year. We're just been a blowout almost every single time. Yeah, and that's what I say. Kirby Smart is sitting on 6-7 years of straight depth and talent. Josh Heupel is sitting on 2 years of it. I can't even say 3 years because he's only had 2 recruiting classes. You know what I mean? So I can't pick Tennessee to win that game.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to because you've said it multiple times. You ain't going to do it. So I trust that you're being honest with that. My whole thing is I just want to see something just like last year. I mean, honestly, Alabama, I went to every home game, and it's like the Alabama one is the only thing I can remember, the only thing I can recall because it was so incredible. I want that again so bad. It's obviously going to take a lot of luck, just like the Alabama one did. It took a lot of luck as well. So we'll see when we get there. Long ways away. And then to finish this out, we have Vandy at home right after Thanksgiving. I think this is going to be an absolute blowout for the most part. I mean, there should be no excuses.
Walk them like a dog. That's exactly what's about to happen. It's going to be ugly. I think Tennessee finishes 10-2. I think there's still a chance they get into the playoffs, though, because I don't know if Alabama or A&M doesn't have 2 losses on their schedule. So we'll see. I think that game, that Tennessee-Georgia game could determine if Alabama goes, if Georgia goes, if Tennessee. Like, I think it'll be a lot riding on that one football game simply off the fact of Texas A&M.
I mean, I think that's definitely valid. I think Vanderbilt's going to be improved from last year. Vanderbilt, granted, we beat the daylights out of them last year, but they were 5-7. They were not that terrible compared to what they usually are. Right. And a lot of people forget that their wide receiver Will Shepherd led the SEC in receiving touchdowns last year too. Like, a lot of people kind of forget about that. So they got talent, but I mean, it's Tennessee Vanderbilt. Yeah. We're going to win this game by 5 touchdowns. It's going to be a great send-off for guys like Joe Milton and Bree McCoy and Ramil Keaton have their senior day there. Be great festivities, a great crowd, but I don't think this game's going to be close at all.
I don't know. It'll be a decent crowd, but it's not going to be like sellout. Because when I went to this game 2 years ago, everybody was home for Thanksgiving break. It was like on like the worst.
That was year one though.
Buddy,
that was year one. This is year 3 under hype, and they probably are going to be what? 10-1, 9-2. You know what I'm saying? That game is going to be sold out. 100%.
If they're 9-2 or 10-1, every seat's going to.
They've only got like 40 tickets left to sell for the whole season, bro. If they fill up the game for Akron and don't fill it up for Vanderbilt, something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts.
You feel
and
me?
UT Martin and UT Martin.
Yeah.
So
good points. I said I went with 56-14. Fuck it. I don't know.
Good lord.
I don't care.
I mean, it was 55-0 last year, so
right.
It's very doable. You know what I'm saying?
Like Will Shepherd, he's on the preseason Blitnikoff award list, but that's not going to matter when your quarterback is like AJ Swan. And then you got a guy like Mike Wright that you pretty much just gave up on that's now sitting on your bench. That's really a decent quarterback. I would not personally be starting AJ Swan, but I'm not Clark Lee. So I think Tennessee definitely handles business. It's not even going to be close. It's going to be ugly, like 63-14.
I mean, Joe Milton was literally 2 pass interferences and 1 slight overthrow away from that ball game being like 75-0. Because Squirrel White was wide open, pass interference. Ramel Keaton was wide open, pass interference. He overthrew Jalen Hyatt, which would have been a touchdown. And then, it was a little wet outside. He overthrew Christian Fan a little bit. So that's 4 touchdowns that really could have been on the board. You know what I'm saying? That's 4 touchdowns that really got taken away. On a normal day, it's probably touchdowns. Just saying.
Something tells me that even if they're up by 5 touchdowns, the Heupel is going to allow Milton and the seniors just stay out there for as long as possible to rack up some stats.
Crazy. Bro, we're going into bowl season. Are you serious? He's not going to do that. Stop. He's not going to do that.
He will. Oh, he will. Got to rack up the stats, man, for your Heisman run.
I don't know. I guess we have so many of these games.
Bro, he pulled Hooker by halftime, bro. Like 3 games last season, he pulled Hooker at halftime. Hooker absolutely should have won the Heisman last year if Hype kept him in for just 10 more minutes in those 3 games. Just 10 more minutes. That would have been, 1,500 more yards and probably 6 more touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hype ain't, nah, bro. Nah. Joe going to be on the bench. I can tell you that. It's going to be a blowout.
Just telling
you. Hype ain't going to do that.
All
and he's
right.
going to go to the NFL. Hype's not going to do that. He's not going to risk it.
I have to agree. I don't think. I mean, we could be playoff contenders again or a massive bowl game shot. So I would not risk it at that point. Please don't risk it.
I firmly believe Navy Schuler could go out there and lead Tennessee to a 55-0 win against I do.
You tell me,
I really do.
Kidding me? Oh, Jackson Moore and Navy would light them up.
Don't burn Nico's red shirt.
Yeah, don't do that.
Bro, Nico is not going to be here. Burn his red shirt. Nico is gone. Like, if Nico stays here past 3 years, that means something went absolutely terribly wrong. This year, I understand you want him to learn, but you're not trying to preserve his red shirt because he's going to go out the next 2 years and win the Heisman. Come on now. Nah. If Nico's here year 4, he either had a Peyton Manning heart change or something went wrong. That's the only 2 options if he's here at year 4. But I don't see
Brando, that would be like a total Butch Jones move to like redshirt Nico this year. I'm sorry. Like,
it would be.
That'd be something out of the Butch Jones playbook if that happens.
Like, you want Nico to play as much as possible to be ready for the next 2 years.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. So we're at the end of our season predictions. I went 10-2 last year and everyone thought I was nuts. So I upped the ante and went 11-1 this year. Fuck it.
I got a 12-0 season. I don't care.
Hey, that's just crazy talk right there. But I got us 10-2. I think 11-1 is very doable. I think regardless, 11-1 gets you in the college football playoff. 10-2 gets you in a New Year's Six bowl. I mean, even the Peach Bowl, which I would like for us to play in Atlanta. That'd be pretty lit. But 10-2, I think is my prediction. 11-1 is very doable though.
If Tennessee takes this season personal and takes every single game personal, I think Tennessee can go 11-1 or 12-0. If they take this absolutely every single game, take it personal, take it as disrespect, aka Alabama from 06 to 2016, whatever, or 2023, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? You go into the mindset of every single game of it's disrespectful that you even on the field with me. Tennessee can do it, but I do think Tennessee finishes 10-2. But a little bit more heart, a little bit more strain, a little bit more intensity, a little bit more energy can win you 11-12 ball games. So it's doable, but my prediction is 10-2. Should be no worse than 9-3.
Let's
just pray and hope that this year we don't have any key starters, trying to fight other starters before a really big game.
All right. Well, guys, it was a great show. We will get at y'all next week. We'll see y'all in Nashville. Yeah.
Hey.
All right.
I guess we'll have to see how this plays out. But fucking me and Lo were right last year. So if we can get the ceiling, I think we'll all be really happy. But 9-3 by BetMG, I'm just not fucking with it still to this point.
I think it's fair though. I do think 9-3 is fair. A&M, Georgia, Alabama, man, you got to beat them.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Games, though,
you got
to recruit at a really, really high level though.
Yeah, you got to beat them, man.
What happened 2 days ago? 5-star Jordan Ross, edge rusher, commits to Tennessee.
Got to go beat them, man. That's all you got to do. Got to go beat them. If the offensive line is figured out, they should be all right. But it's not going to be what it was last year. So
just be realistic. Realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't be
don't get your heart up, man. Like
don't get hard up like Brando over here. Don't make it happen. All right.
I didn't get my heart up to beat Alabama last year, and we won the game. Can you sense my reverse psychology? I don't think Tennessee beats Georgia. I don't see it happening. You sensing it? You got it now? All right, cool, great. 15-0. Let's fucking go.
All the 9 days.
All right, man. I gotta pick up my kid.
Yeah.
I will see y'all next week.
Yep. Join us next week. We're going pregame for our very first game of the season. Can't wait for that. And yeah, everyone have a good night. Until next week, go Vols.
All right, guys. Go Vols.
Go Vols.